As a reminder, if you're on YouTube, go to your settings and make sure restriction mode is off, as it restricts content from content creators and it can definitely hurt content creators in the long run. Also, be sure to check out my shorts channel, Starter Protagonist, if you want to see some of my best shorts on there. So be sure to check it out and make sure you subscribe there. For over 15 years, I've dabbled into a variety of fighting games that forever have influenced me, from the crazy 4-player fades in Super Smash Bros. To the spectacular 3v3s in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Witness the greatest anime of all time transition from the best video game in the arena fighting scene to an action-packed, competent 2D fighter. And I've had my time with Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Revolution. But these weren't the only ones. I've played Street Fighter, a few Tekken games back in the day, Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat, and just recently I've dabbled into Dead or Alive 6. Haneka's best girl, by the way.
Yay! What? Does it really hurt that much?
God damn! These are all amazing fighting games, and I'll gladly check them out one day. But today I'll be paying my respects to 2 games from a franchise that I've never gotten into until last year. The King of Fighters XIV, released on August 23, 2016. It wasn't until May of 2024 where I bought the game. I had some interest in wanting to try out some of these games after the legendary Wolf himself made it into Smash Ultimate. I was eventually hooked when seeing the gameplay of the King of Fighters 15, but I saw the edition where it got all the DLC and costumes bundled in with the game, which was King of Fighters 14, and it was on sale for $10, so I couldn't resist. King of Fighters 14 started production in April 2014 using staff from Izaka. The development team wanted the game to be easy to play and as popular as the King of Fighters 98 and the King of Fighters 2002. While the King of Fighters 13 was a success, from what I've seen, new players had a hard time getting into it. So they intended to combine the simplicity of King of Fighters 98 with the mechanics of King of Fighters 2002 and the King of Fighters 13. The King of Fighters 14 was announced at the Sony Computer Entertainment press conference for the 2015 Tokyo Game Show and was presented at the PlayStation Experience 2015. SNK chose to develop the game for the PlayStation 4 because of the console's high worldwide sales, and didn't want to add a new system to the game, but made some changes in response to the King of Fighters 13. In October 2015, Yasuyuki Oda, the battle designer for Street Fighter 4, took the role as the director of King of Fighters 14. This was his first contribution to the franchise, leading a younger staff, and he claimed the King of Fighters franchise was unique for its fast-paced combat and how players have to react to the game's mechanics. During Oda's first employment at SNK, Virtual Fighter was the game that motivated him into making a 3D fighting game after his departure, and when he returned, he transitioned the King of Fighters series from 2D to 3D, though the adaptation of some characters like Leona was more difficult than others. SNK developed the game engine internally. Initially, they considered using Unreal Engine 4, but chose not to at the time since it didn't fit with SNK's budget and goals. Rather than using cel-shaded graphics, Oda and Kuroki insisted for the King of Fighters series to follow the King of Fighters 94 style. This didn't sit well with fans as the team received negative feedback about the game's visuals due to being too different from the original ones. As a result, the company worked hard in order to make the cast look like the usual. The development team found running the game at 60 frames per second in full HD challenging. The demand for 60 frames per second over more detailed graphics was made to ensure the game would perform well online. So to save production time and budget, Oda allowed for 3 characters to have obscure faces, so they won't require any facial animations. As you can tell from the way I described all of this, the King of Fighters 14 didn't have the highest of budgets, and considering that the game had over 2 years of development, I can't imagine how difficult it was to bring the series over to 3D. However, on August 23rd of 2016, the King of Fighters 14 was released in North America, with Japan receiving the game 2 days later. 10 months after, the game was released on Steam worldwide and on arcade in Japan. And despite the difficult journey developing the game, The reception was very positive, with critics giving it between 7 to 9 out of 10. So to a lot of fans, this was a very solid entry in the King of Fighters series. But does it still hold up after almost 10 years? Let's get the story out of the way. I never really bothered going into every character's lore. I'm sure they all have their own stories and motives, but I'll be damned if I ever think of diving deep into that kind of territory. As long as a fighting game has one storyline to focus on, that's all that matters to me. I mean, not to say that the characters don't have any personalities or any certain traits, because I actually enjoy the hijinks and the interactions between characters. I know Mai and Andy are actually together, and I know Terry and Blue Mary are together as well, so there's that. So I do like the lore on some of these characters, but it's not really something that I'm willing to dive too deep into. Like I said before, as long as a fighting game has one storyline to focus on, that's what matters to me. King of Fighters XIV takes place 4 years after King of Fighters XIII, where the Russian billionaire Antonov bought the rights to the King of Fighters competitions to host a tournament every year for players to compete in. You go through 8 stages until reaching Antonov, the penultimate boss, and you'll have to defeat the final boss that will appear after defeating Antonov. That final boss being Verse, and he's someone you should not try to underestimate. Once you defeat Verse, depending on which team you pick, you get to see their ending. And there are special interactions depending on the characters, like the beef between Angel and Kula, or Terry looking down on Alice. How about Ramon and Benimaru hitting on Luong, despite the fact that she's already taken by Gangyo? And don't even get me started on the rivalry between Kyo and Niori. This game is brimming with fan service in many different ways. Despite the story not having that much depth, everything else truly makes up for it. Just to be clear here guys, I'm speaking as a casual when it comes to fighting games like this. I am not good at this game, as you can tell by the footage alone, so don't expect any crazy ass combos here in this video. King of Fighters XIV is without a doubt that one fighting game I can see that's a bit difficult for me to master, and that's coming from someone who plays Street Fighter 4. I can't even do the climax super special moves. Even when I do the inputs, I still can't pull it off. Perhaps I'm doing something wrong here, but it's something that I didn't bother putting time into mastering. But when it comes to the rest of the game, there's a lot of praise I have for it. King of Fighters XIV has a total of 50 characters in the base roster, with almost half of them being new to the series. Some are original, while some are guest characters from different franchises under SNK. 3 guest characters also make their debut in this game. Puri Puri from the Dragon Ball Pachinko game, Love Heart from the Sky Love Pachinko game, and Nakaruru from the Samurai Showdown series. 8 DLC characters were also added, bumping the roster up to 58. Hayden, Oswald, Yamazaki, Whip, Vanessa, Rock Howard, Blue Mary, and Naj. The base roster is split into 16 teams, each with 3 members, and you're able to choose to do either 1v1s or 3v3s. 3v3s are broken up into 1v1s, so when one person is defeated, the next team member steps up to finish the fight. So it's different from Marvel vs. Capcom, but I think it works well as it stands out from the rest of the crowd. You can tell this was my first King of Fighters game, but I know this was a common thing in the series. Can I just say that some of these characters in this game are pretty cool to use? I had a blast playing as Rock Howard, and Kyo's also cool too. But I absolutely adore the female fighters in this game. Angel ended up becoming my favorite character to use because of the moves she can pull off. And she got it going with that fit she's wearing. Yuri's also a character that I enjoy playing as, especially seeing that she can perform a butt punch. Even Zarina can do a butt punch too when activating her EX special move. This Colombian Brazilian girl got them hips. I also enjoyed playing as Mai Shiranui in both this series and Dead or Alive 6. The game also introduced a new mechanic called Max Mode. By consuming 1 SP gauge, you'll enter Max Mode, which allows you to pull off EX special moves, which are stronger than normal special moves. But both are pretty easy to use, which leads into the Rush Mode. By pressing the light punch button 4 times, this could go 3 different ways. If your SP meter is at 0, the 4th attack will go into a certain special move. If 1 gauge is filled, you'll perform a special move, but in Max Mode, you can pull off an EX special move. This actually makes things easier for casuals like me and many others. King of Fighters XIV also has an online mode if you're interested in challenging other players online. There's also mission, which includes 3 different modes. You have your standard survival, time attack, and trial. If this is your first King of Fighters game like yours truly, then you can either go to the tutorial to learn the fundamentals, or just go to training to learn how to play yourself. The game also has a gallery mode where you can view illustrations you've unlocked, team endings, cutscenes, and you can even listen to characters' voices. Graphically, this game doesn't look that bad. CGI cutscenes looks amazing, but when it comes to the in-game models themselves, they're pretty good. Not anything spectacular, but I'm willing to cut SNK some slack. This was their first attempt at bringing the series into 3D, and I know they had a hard time doing so. But they did a fine job bringing KOF into the 3D world, and it gets a B+ for that. But I will say that they did an amazing job at the physics of the game when it comes to the female fighters. If they're wearing more clothing, the pillows will be stationary. But since a character like Maya wears loose clothing, you're gonna see more jiggles from her kunoichi knockers. It's something I expect to see in certain fighting games, whether it be comical or realistic physics. And this game is phenomenal, running at a smooth 60 frames per second. Voice acting is on point, no complaints there, but the soundtrack? Oh man, this is one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a fighting game. Tracks like Coco, Tiger and Dragon, and especially Splendid Soldier are some of my favorite tracks to listen to. Then of course, we have the main theme, Follow Me. Without a doubt, the best music track to ever come out of this soundtrack. From the lyrics to the instrumental, this song knows how to bring the hype. Like I said before, this was a proper step in the 3D world. While not amazing, it's still pretty good to look at. You gotta give SNK their props for attempting this. It was also a bit risky considering that fans were not a fan of this approach, but they stuck to their guns and it worked out well. King of Fighters XIV did pretty well in terms of sales, so much so that it gave them the chance to develop a new Samurai Showdown game and the next entry in the King of Fighters series. And aside from the graphical upgrade, the physics are good, the gameplay is good, the character roster is awesome, and the soundtrack is very fun to listen to. I know there might be a few things I missed, but I did the best I can covering the most important parts of the game. King of Fighters XIV, without a doubt, gets an 8 out of 10 for me. And when the time comes, I'll cover the next entry in the series. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate the support you've been giving on this channel. But yeah, until then, this is Starter Protagonist signing out. As always, Goku Genyo, and have a star-tastic day, everyone. If you enjoyed today's video, then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn those notifications on to join the Star Nation. Also, be sure to follow my Twitter, and while you're at it, check out my previous video. Now.